Hello traders, and welcome back to a Liquid FX YouTube video. So here we're going to be breaking down a SPY buy, so SPX 500, a trade that was taken this week, just in line with the overall order flow, right? So we can see SPY is almost about to make an all-time high. So here we are on the daily time frame. If I zoom into the daily time frame, it's important to understand if we just go to the left over here, what we do is we had a mitigation zone over here. So we had a supply zone over here, right? We had an imbalance over here created back in January 22. Now, since then, we see price gravitating towards this zone, as is a fair value gap in this region, right? So when we see a fair value gap, we know that there is an inefficiency in price. So we see supply and demand, or buyers and sellers, not to be delivered a fair price in this region, and therefore price will gravitate towards that fair value gap to rebalance price and deliver the efficient pricing. So if we go down here to more recent price action, we see a massive move up from October of this year. We've just seen days push higher and higher and higher. Now, of course, with SPY, the intention is to actually make an all-time high, like US 30 and NASDAQ. We see new highs over there. So with the S&P 500, it's more or less the same thing. So it's just buys, 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 right? We're going to be going over a buy trade, but more specifically, how we can get involved in this market, but also other markets as well. So if we go down to the 4-hour time frame, the 4-hour time frame screams pretty much the same as the daily time frame. What we saw over here is we saw a structural break in this region. So if we just quickly mark out our intraday 4-hour structure, what we're seeing is we're seeing price deliver a high, a low, a high, a low, and a high, and another low. So what we see is we saw a downtrend in this region over here, giving us new lows and lower lows and new lows and lower lows. And since then, we've had a break of structure in this region over here. And now since then, we've not even delivered premiums, right? In this region, we've just continued higher and higher and higher. That's in line with the daily time frame. So why do you think we've just seen price action in this way? Now, price action in this way has been delivered because we have a fair value gap on the daily, and so our narrative is to simply look for buys. As price looks to go higher, we see higher prices on SPY in order to rebalance price, as we have a fair value gap over here on the higher time frame. The daily time frame has a supply zone in this region. So now if we go down to the 5-minute chart, we can really begin to dissect price in a lot of detail. We can see what's going on, why this buy was taken, what's happened, what's the reason for it, and why this trade was held overnight as well. Okay, so let's dissect price. So here we are on the 5-minute time frame here on SPY, right? So we have the Asian range with this box over here marked out over here in gray, the Asian range over here. Now the Asian range stems from midnight to this is being recorded in the United Kingdom, so this is the London time. So as we can see, we have the Asian range over here, and the Asian range, we have the Asian range over here. Now, what is the purpose of the Asian range? The Asian range is known as the accumulation, right? The Asian range is known as the accumulation. So what are we accumulating here? So as an analyst and as a trader, we need to understand, what are we accumulating in this range? Why do we call this the accumulation? Now, this is the accumulation of orders. We're stacking orders in this range. And so the accumulation is known as the liquidity building stage. Now, what is the timings of the Asian range? Very important to understand, right? So we're going to be dealing with New York time or Eastern Standard Time, just so we can keep everyone centralized. And ICT himself, this is an ICT related video, is from New York as well. So we're going to be sticking to New York times to honor him. So as we can see, the New York timings for this is going to be 19 o'clock to midnight. Very important to get this down. So wherever you are in the world, please calibrate this to your time. So if you're in the United Kingdom, for example, you just add on 5 hours. So it's from midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning. And wherever you are around the world, please calibrate this to your time. But the Asian range is a low volume time of day, as we can see. And its purpose is to accumulate price. It's to build up liquidity, build up orders in this low volume time of day. Now, as we leave the Asian session at 5 a.m. UK time, what do we see here in the London session? Now, the London session is pretty much from when this box ends, right? So the London session will be from here to roughly here. So this is the London session marked out in no color, just gray. So this is the London session, right? Now, let's dissect the London session, because this is very important to understand. The London session has a very specific characteristic role in the way that we look at SPY here at Liquid FX, right? So the London session, as we can see, sweeps the Asian high. As we can see, we see this box over here, this yellow box here, sweeping the Asian high. Then we see an aggressive sweep of the Asian low just over here, right? So if we just dissect this again and break this down, we have the Asian range accumulation. And now from here going into the London session, we see a sweep of the Asian high over here. So we see this yellow box delineating that, a sweep of the Asian high. And then we see a sweep of the Asian low in this region over here before a break of structure, right? This break of structure doesn't confirm until 13:45, so 1:45 p.m. UK time. So this is as the New York market's opening. We see a break of structure here. Break of structure is marked not by the wicks, but by the body. So we see a break of structure just over here in this region over here, right? So it took hours for this break of structure to form. But what is the purpose of the London session giving this move over here? This is critical. We see the break of structure, which is in line with the higher time frame being bullish. But what is the purpose of this move? Now, if we draw a schematic here at the bottom, we see the Asian range accumulate price. We see the Asian high get swept, followed by the Asian low. And now we've seen a break over here. So what do we see? What's the purpose of this move, right? So the sweep of the Asian high entices early buyers. We see early buyers manipulated over here, right? Early buyers get manipulated into the market. Price action is basically saying, oh, let's go long. But the London session tears down, sweeping the Asian low before breaking structure. So what do we see over here? This is the Judas swing, right? So this here is the Judas swing, or the turtle soup, or simply the low of the day, which is often created in the London session. It can be in the New York session as well, but it's often the London session, right? So we see the Asian accumulation, or the Asian range, marked out here in gray. Now we see the London session manipulate early buyers and sweep them out, enticing sellers too, because we see the market tear down. Sellers are intact. Now, what happens to those incorrect sellers, those impatient sellers? Well, they get mitigated out the market with the break of structure, right? Now, when we go into the New York session, what do we see? So the New York session essentially gives us our break of structure, right? So our New York session opened here at 2:30. So we see the open here at 2:30, I believe, 2:30 UK time. So roughly at this region over here, we see New York open. And now from here, the New York open gives us our higher time frame expectation, right? Our higher time frame rally, as we expect, right? So we see the higher time frame, we see the New York session rally up, giving us a break of structure in this region and a nice fair value gap in this region, a nice fair value gap over here, right? So we have a very clear order block in this region over here. Order block, right? We see an order block of imbalance over here. And hence this trade was taken because our order block meets 3 rules. What are they? OB rules, right? We see price breaking structure. We see price leaving a fair value gap. And we see price priced correctly, so i.e. in the discount. Now with these three things, right, so we have price breaking structure, as we can see. We see price leaving a fair value gap in this region, and if we use our fib tool, we can begin to analyze. We go from our swing low, our recent swing low, up to our swing high. So if we zoom into this price action over here, what we see is we see a very clear order block in this region. Now from here, this trade ran to a nice 2.5R and it was held overnight. So we held it onto the next day, and we see price just continuing that trend up to that daily supply zone, as we see. So just a quick summary of today and what we've learned, right? What have we learned? We've learned we have the Asian range, which accumulates orders. We often see the London session giving us a manipulation of the high and the low, giving us a manipulation, enticing early buyers over here, but also sweeping them out and enticing sellers. So both sides, the impatient, the uninformed traders, are shaken out of the market in this region, followed by a break of structure. And now we just enter off the order block and off to the races we go. This is a classic ICT OTE trade taken using the AMD model. So if you're interested in this, Liquid FX will be providing videos every week to help people simplify down their ICT concepts and just make their ICT journey a little bit more approachable and realistic, right? We can break down the key concepts here at Liquid FX and make it as approachable and as simplistic as possible so traders from any backgrounds can learn, develop, and grow. So if you like this video, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you all at the next one.